qualifying earlier was an interesting one. Many of the drivers that showed some pace ended up not being able to prove it, as many of their lap times got deleted here in Dubai. As we look at Pro here, was one of the few drivers who was able to set a lap time. They had to stay within the boundaries, which can sometimes lose a bit of time when you're a bit wary of where your car is stepping, and as you can see, that got them a 1:18.7. Many of the drivers, however, that did try to set a lap time but ended up getting validated will be finding themselves starting at the back of the grid with many of the non-competitors in qualifying. Dubai Palm Harbor, an interesting track, a very technical one as a matter of fact, and can really cost you a lot of time if you get it wrong around here. This is round one of the public Grand Prix FFA here in the IFR Open Championship. Now, Dubai Palm Harbor can really challenge your tires, and it is important to get the strategy right. So if we look at the strategy here, you need to get it perfect. The medium tire being the most efficient for the beginning of the Grand Prix, being able to lap 8 to 10 and then continuing from soft from that point, or taking the soft tires to lap 4 to 6 and then hard tires to the end of the race. Let's see how the drivers are able to use that strategy to their advantage. But looking at the front row, Mats and Ikma, both of them taking the front row for Rizrin. That should be an important grid order for the team. They've got a big advantage, as you can see, many of the drivers finding themselves at the far back. That gives the Rizrin team a major advantage. The only two competitors they have are the Peugeot and the Lotus behind, consisting of Leeson and Lays. Lights out and away we go. It's a horrible start from Matson. Ikma gets a great start, and it seems Laser's not too far behind. Leeson is fallen completely down the grid order. They've gone completely down the grid. And the two Rizmans going side by side, heading into turn 5. Who gets ahead? Matson does. Matson gets a great exit out of that corner, and I'm pretty sure I saw a GT3 car getting a great exit as well. But here's Leeson. As I was saying, yeah, Leeson got a bad start, it seemed. So Leeson's gonna have to make up some important ground because they were in P4 at the start of this race, and to find themselves in P11 now, that's not going to be great for their confidence. Mats are not too far behind, and I think that's, yeah, there's Lando. Lando's challenging for P2. Lando gets the overtake done, heading into the final corner, going around the outside of Ikma. Where has this performance come from Lando? Lando's pulled off a magnificent overtake, going around the outside of Ikma in the final corner. What an overtake, and now Matson's getting ahead of his teammate, heading around, trailing behind Lando. So this is a very competitive race from what it seems. The two Rizrins have been caught napping and have been caught out. Both of them being overtaken, but Lando's making mistakes as well. It's all over the place for the top 3, and now Lando's finding himself in the mix of the two Rizrin drivers, and now Matson gets ahead, heading into the first DRS zone. What can they pull off? There's a lapped car ahead, that's going to give all of them DRS abilities, so it'll be an equal drag race heading down into the second DRS straight. Not too far behind the two Rizrins, and one of them going severely deep. I think that's Ikma. Ikma went way too deep into that chicane, and they've lost lots of time whilst doing so. And Lando going side by side with Matson, going up the inside, going too far deep. Will that prove to their disadvantage? No, it won't, because they're starting to pull away on the straight. And as a matter of fact, Lando is under investigation for going off the track and gaining an advantage. So let's see if Lando gets a penalty here, and that might dictate how hard the Rizrin drivers have to push their cars. But now, in the distance, Dauk catching up to HDIS. And HDIS breaks way too early, taking the completely wrong racing line. And now, here comes Dauk, right behind him. He's all over his exhaust, and HDIS is going to have to be really careful here. And HDIS crashes! HDIS crashes right into the barrier. What happened there? That might be a hydraulic issue or a problem with the car. They crashed right into the wall. What a big crash. I hope they're okay, but that puts them out of the race, I believe. They don't seem to be getting their car up and running again. And it seems to be an awful day for Ferrari, their lone representative. And yeah, they're out. They've retired from the race. That's HDIS out of the Grand Prix. They seemed pretty strong. Possibly had the ability to compete with the two front runners. ICMA's going to have to really get as much out of the car as they can, using as much ERS as well. What can Matson do, however? Down the inside, heading into the chicane. They're going side by side, taking equal racing lines. Not much can really define the two drivers. They're showing equal performance side by side, heading down into the final corner. ICMA still remaining ahead. Matson dives into the pit lane. Matson dives into the pit. This is a shock. This is a big shock. And it seems the medium tires have only managed to get them onto lap 7. And they've got damage! They've got damage on their front wing! I'm not sure what's happened there. So that's gonna be an even longer pit stop. So Matson has damage to their front wing. This is completely unexpected. And now they head on to a set of hard tires. We shouldn't be seeing them pit anymore in this race unless they take damage. But what an unfortunate situation for Matson. What matters is, what can they do with their tires? Lando probably being able to strike Dowk, who's currently leading the race in a matter of 4 laps, but it's not going to be easy. It's a 12-second gap, and as we've seen, Dowk is on a charge. They've crawled their way up the grid, and it should be likely that Dowk won't put up an easy fight. They'll definitely challenge Lando when they get close. But in the meantime, and who's that in the distance actually? ICMA spins. ICMA's lost their car, they've completely spun it in P2, and now Lando's going to have a go for that position. That's a very costly mistake by ICMA, and now Lando's all over them. They're going to insanely gain time on them, and as you can see, he's crawling, he's grappling himself up into P2, heading into the chicane, and ICMA's gone way too deep. It's gone horribly wrong for ICMA. ICMA's probably going to pit now. That was a horrible mistake done by ICMA. That was very costly for them. And yeah, as I said, into the pit lane. Rightly so, I think. Those tires are just not helping them at all. Yeah, there's a 10-second gap difference between the two drivers. Meanwhile, Dowk and Lando, the gap is significantly closing. As you can see, down the straight, Lando has just got the raw straight line speed. Now heading into the chicane, losing a bit of time through here, so maybe Lando just isn't as fast through that part. But you can just see how much time has been gained by Lando through the middle sector. Just lots of time has been gained. Bearing in mind they had 12 seconds between him and the leader. And now it's gone down to 2.4 seconds. We said it might be a 4-lap time span between when they had pit and to striking the leader, and it's nearly at that point. It's the 2.4 second gap, but as they're getting closer, they seem to be falling away a bit. I think maybe those tires are being pushed too hard, and they're not going to be able to keep up. But Dowk has been going on those soft tires for 10 laps. That is an interesting strategy they're pulling. Maybe they've got a little more grip in those tires. Maybe they're soon to pit. We're just not quite sure. But maybe they'll be pitting soon. Heading down the straight, we should see another rocket ship of a car. But oh my word, Lando gets a brilliant exit. A brilliant exit, finding himself going side by side with Dowk now. And now heading down the straight. Dowk gets a bit ahead there, and now Lando falls behind. Maybe they're charging their battery, recharging a bit, and Dowk getting a good exit out of that corner. But so does Lando. Lando gets a great exit right behind him, and heading down into the final corner. Can he keep up the pace? Yes, he can, but he goes a bit too deep. Luckily, not hitting the barrier there. Lots of room to regain a bit of grip there, but. That was not the best move to be pulled off by Lando there. Lando falling behind. Wait, where is Lando? Lando's all the way back. It seems into turn 1 they went a bit wide there. And here into turn 5 they went quite wide. So I think the soft tires are starting to run out now. And speaking of, Dowk under investigation for... Let's see what they're under investigation for. Exploiting tire life for an advantage. That seems quite reasonable considering that Dowk hasn't pitted in 13 laps on soft tires. And it seems if he's doing that, it's likely either a disqualification or a hefty time penalty. And yes, that is Lando. Lando is in the pits now. It seems they're going to be going onto a set of soft tires once more. And switching on. Yep, it's a fresh set of soft tires. They're going to have to be taking these to the end of the race. Can Matson get close enough? No, it doesn't seem like it. Matson's just not going to be able to close in time. And yes, Lando comes out ahead. But Lando doesn't have a front wing. Lando doesn't have a front wing. So now Lando might be expected to make another pit stop. This is not looking good for Lando whatsoever. No front wing. They've got to do an entire lap without a front wing through the most technical parts of this track. Lando goes way too deep, and they have to take the off-road time penalty for Dowk. Dowk gets a 200-second time penalty. Dowk has been penalized, and they've been found guilty for the exploitation of their tire life. So that's Dowk receiving a heavy penalty. So now they're going to be finding themselves probably at the back of the grid, because as you can see, Shuz has got a 220-second gap between himself and the leader. So that'll probably find Dowk in either P7 or P8. Drivers. It doesn't seem like Matson's hard tires proved to their advantage, but it did manage to get them the upper hand over their teammate of ICMA. But now, as Lando takes the final corner, they take the race win after having a great charge at the beginning of the race from 7th to 1st. What a performance from the GG3 driver. And now Matson, who started at the front of the grid, takes P2. What a great performance from the Rizwan driver. They've shown consistent pace, able to get ahead of their teammate who didn't seem to hold that consistency. But now as they come around the final corner as well, it is a 2-3 finish for the Rizwan team. Obviously wanting to be in first and second, but I think Rizwan will be happy with their finish. A close race we've had here in Dubai. The top three consisting of Lando, Matson, and ICMA. Matson and ICMA, both representing the Rizwan team, and Lando representing GG3, taking the lone spot on the podium. Leeson taking P4, the Cahoots taking P5, Shushberger 1 taking P6, MLRZ P7, K Formula P8, HDISN P9, and Dowk in P10 after a conclusive disqualification after their penalty. Painter taking P11, P12 going to Laser, and P13 going to Shao. And Lando getting the fastest lap for GG3 on lap 9, getting themselves a 1:17.5, which gets them a bonus point. They are the first driver out of our public series, out of the upcoming races in the future, that we wish you guys will be able to join us on. I hope you guys have found this race interesting, and I'd be more than happy to receive your feedback on what you would like different for the upcoming races. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.